Hey everyone, and welcome to another explainer. So, let me ask you a question. What if human suffering actually isn't caused by a lack of morality? What if the things we view as our absolute deepest moral failures are, well, simply the result of running on flawed operating systems? Today we're exploring a really fascinating and frankly radical set of texts by an author named Zhu Feng. And we're going to dive into his whole concept of human and societal engineering, because his main argument, to fix humanity, we don't actually need better morals. We literally just need a complete software update.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The power of programs. 2. Reprogramming society. 3. Rethinking core sorrows. 4. The timeline of grief. 5. The toll of sorrow. And finally, 6. The Lifechanyuan solution.
Part 1. The power of programs. Morality versus systems. To really wrap our heads around this philosophy, we have to look back at 18th century British convict ships heading over to Australia. So initially, the government paid private captains based on the number of convicts who simply boarded the ship. And the result? Cramped, truly terrible conditions and a staggering 12% death rate. Now, the government tried moral preaching, they put supervisors on board, but none of it worked. Captains just bribed the supervisors, or worse, threw them overboard. But then they decided to change the system itself. They began paying captains only on the number of convicts who actually arrived safely. And almost overnight, conditions improved, and the death rate absolutely plummeted to just 1%. Rewriting the program worked infinitely better than just demanding people have better morals.
Part 2. Reprogramming flawed societal systems. Fixing the macro world.
Now, the author takes the logic from those 18th century ships and applies it directly to our modern world. He argues that if a societal state is persistently bad, the underlying program is just broken. And look at how radically Zhu Feng proposes altering society to fix these bugs. For elderly care, thousands of years of the moral expectation of filial piety still leaves a lot of people suffering, right? His program update is a second home mode where the elderly are cared for collectively. For marriage, instead of the traditional moral mandate to just endure the trouble, he proposes abolishing marriage entirely to get rid of relationship anxieties. Funerals, they become affordable and elegant through a whole new system. And for war, instead of constantly negotiating peace treaties, he actually proposes abolishing nations altogether to erase borders. It is a total, massive societal reboot.
Part 3. Rethinking life's core sorrows. The micro-experience of pain.
Okay, so we've looked at these massive societal programs. But how does a flawed operating system actually impact the individual soul? You've likely heard some variation of the ancient wisdom claiming that life's 3 great sorrows are losing a father in youth, losing a spouse in middle age, and losing a child in old age. Well, Zhu Feng completely rejects this. He points out that, first of all, this is entirely male-centric. But more importantly, he argues these aren't natural human sorrows at all. They are artificially created by human culture and the systems we live in.
So, if we just throw out that ancient wisdom, what's actually left? I mean, if losing a parent, a spouse, or a child aren't the ultimate natural sorrows, what exactly does he say are the true sorrows of human existence?
Part 4. The timeline of human grief. The first 6 sorrows.
According to the text, true sorrow stems from the systemic lacks we experience at every biological stage. The default life program, basically, fails us constantly. It starts right in infancy with a lack of maternal love. Then in childhood, it's a lack of joyful playmates. By adolescence, the third sorrow hits, which is a lack of genuine guidance on how to actually be human. During our prime youth, instead of establishing our beliefs, we're told we just waste our energy pursuing materialistic desires. Cars, marriages, things like that. By midlife, we are simply stumbling along. And finally, the 6th sorrow in old age, abandonment. Each of these sorrows is framed as a failure of the surrounding social system to provide what the human soul genuinely needs.
Actually, scratch that. Biology only accounts for the first 6. The 7th and 8th sorrows are purely spiritual. The 7th is this kind of confusing religious mishmash, trying to learn the Bible in adolescence, Buddhist scriptures in youth, and then the Quran in old age. The 8th sorrow comes from delving into mystical cultivation methods, trying to unlock supernatural abilities or metaphysics. The author argues that these scattered occult pursuits don't actually bring enlightenment, they just cause an agonizing mental confusion that severely damages the soul.
Part 5. The compounding toll of sorrow, an escalating formula of pain.
And here's the thing. These 8 sorrows, they aren't isolated events that you just get over. They stack, they compound on top of each other. If your life has just 1 of these sorrows, you live with regret. 2, resentment. 3 sorrows and your life is filled with pain.
4 brings defeat. 5 sorrows, total chaos. 6 is hatred. 7 is suffering. And if you accumulate all 8 sorrows, life is no longer just difficult, it literally becomes an inescapable prison. It's this escalating formula of pain that the author ties directly to systemic failures.
Part 6. The Lifechanyuan Solution, the Supreme Reprogramming.
So we have a broken macro society on one hand and individuals trapped in a micro prison of sorrows on the other. What is the ultimate software patch for all this? Well, the text claims that the sole, supreme method to cure all earthly woes lies specifically with a leading figure of the Lifechanyuan community, who is referred to as the D-form Buddha. The source material asserts that this specific figure is uniquely capable of leading humanity into peace. It even explicitly claims this method surpasses prophesied figures like the Ziwei Saint from traditional Chinese esoteric lore. It is presented as the final, all-encompassing reprogram for the entire human condition.
Which brings us to a really fascinating crossroads. We've explored a perspective today that basically demands we stop trying to be quote-unquote better people within a broken system and instead advocates for tearing down the systems themselves. Everything from how we handle marriage and borders to how we process our deepest, most personal grief. So, what should you take away from this? Consider the core friction we've discussed. Does true happiness and the end of human suffering lie in achieving better personal morals? Or does it require a complete, radical reprogramming of the entire human system? It's a profound question to chew on. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the programs running the world around you.